The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Emrani.
Accident or injury, call Jacob Emrani. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mase. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason, along with Sue 𝐀 This is the show where we talk about everything happening in the world of pop culture. Great guest today. It is Mark Ivanir, who is one of the stars of Emilia Pérez, which just won the Golden Globe for Best Picture, plus a look at the SAG Award nominations and a review of A Complete Unknown starring Timotheé Chalamet. Now, it is Friday, January 10th, as we record this, Sue. Thankfully, the fires have been terrible all across Los Angeles. I've got friends up in the Palisades, and people all over the place have had to evacuate. We're not in the fire zone, thank God, but thoughts and prayers and concerns and all that stuff for everybody in LA who's dealing with those problems.
Do you have any friends who have lost homes?
One friend who has lost a home. Yeah. How about you?
I have three, and
Ooh.
one of them, I mean, you gotta love comedians.
Oh,
His name
yeah?
is Lou. His name is Lou Schneider, and I met him when he was a stand-up, and he went on to be a producer on Everybody Loves Raymond. He directed the Goldbergs. So he was in New York when the fire started, and he didn't know what was going on with his house. I just heard recently, well, I guess it was like a couple of days ago, he called a fellow producer from Raymond and said, everything is gone. The only thing I have is 4 pairs of underwear, and one of them is not good. That was his comment.
Oh, God.
So you gotta love comics. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of levity here, but it's just, it's surreal.
Yeah,
It's
it is
really
surreal. That first night with the winds, it was like apocalyptic. I felt like I was watching, some end of the world kind of movie. And then we haven't been on the radio all this week because our broadcast tower, our tower, has lost power, or they've cut power because it's in a spot where it could spark something, I guess. But we've not been on the air Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Hopefully we're back on the air on Monday, but it's been a crazy, crazy week in LA. And I don't know about you, but I've had so many people that I haven't heard from in forever text me and say, "Are you okay?"
Right.
People I thought I was completely off their radar. But they remembered we were out here and were concerned, and obviously people concerned for everybody out here right now. Now, before we get to our stuff, you had something you wanted to bounce off me that you said you wanted to be very spontaneous.
Well, all right, so I'm going to be 68 this year, okay?
Congratulations. Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you. And although I don't feel anywhere near my age, I am considered a senior. So senior moments, not my senior moments, but senior moments are happening.
Yes.
So around a month ago, I can't believe I didn't even tell you about this. So a month ago, I was getting emails and texts from Citibank, which I do not belong to, saying that my loan did not go through.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, well, because I didn't fill one out.
Right.
So I just disregarded it, but they just kept on coming. So finally, I called up Citibank and I said, I'm not with Citibank. I've never been with Citibank. Obviously, if I've chosen a bank, I have not chosen Citibank. So can you please stop sending me these emails and texts? It's not me.
Correct.
So then they start asking.
I think I know what's coming. Go ahead.
So then they start asking me information, like they want information on me, like what's my birthday? And I said, no, you don't understand. You're not getting any personal information from me. Just stop sending it to me. I don't want it anymore. Someone apparently hacked into my personal information and
Yep.
is trying to get a loan on my behalf. Just stop it. So they said, okay. Then the next day, my doorbell rings.
Okay.
And I have one of those like Wizard of Oz, doors on my front door because my dog, well, it's like a little trap door that opens up.
Right. I
Right?
got you.
So, and I use it when people come to the house and my dog barks.
Okay. Right. Sure.
So this woman, says, "You, Sue Kalinsky, whatever." And I said, what's your, what's your
deal?
question? What's your deal? So she says to me, well, I'm here from social services, right? And she hands me a card.
Yeah.
And she shows me her card, and
Okay.
I said, just leave it on the porch. I'll get it. But but she shows me her name and social services,
Okay.
and he asks me if there's any elder abuse going on in my house, and I looked at her and I said, "What is this about?" I said, like, I'm thinking to myself, "What do you think? I'm beating up my mother? Like I'm not the elder,
Right. Right. Sure.
So, um." And she said that it had to do with Citibank. So Citibank contacted them because I called them to tell them that someone was trying to steal my identity.
Yes.
And right.
Yep.
But I was kind of like, there was a part of me that was like, oh, it's kind of cool that they do this checkup, but that they thought that I was being abused. And I said, no one's being abused in this house.
Right.
It's just had
Well, you
nothing
know
with
why
me.
they did it, right? Because
Well,
they
they
thought you were getting scammed.
They thought I was getting scammed. Right. Exactly.
And you were.
Yes. No, I understand that. But just the fact that this kind of stuff is happening now.
Yes. Now, I will say that, people send all kinds, you get messages from banks and Spectrum cable and all these things. Just report as junk. Just hit report as junk. They're not real. None of them are real. They're all hacks.
Oh, yeah. Like, I have the fast pass for the metro lane.
I keep getting billed for it. I'm like, report as junk. I wasn't even there.
Yeah. Well, I looked it up because I was getting texts that said, you have to pay this bill. And if you don't pay it. So I looked up, fake text from metro lane, and they said, just disregard it. We don't do that. So then the other day when we were going to do the open and we couldn't do it, I'm getting out of my car. So my phone is on in my car.
Right.
And it said no caller ID. And I usually, 99% of the time I don't pick it up, but I did for some reason.
Yeah.
And this guy gets on the phone and he asks me if I am who I am. And then he says, I'm so-and-so from Sheriff's Department. And you were supposed to report for jury duty last Monday, and you didn't show up. And I said, whoa. I said, wait a minute. I never even got a notice for jury duty. And I don't know what you're talking about. And he says, well, I don't care what you're saying, but and then he started to get really belligerent with me. And I said, hey. I said, who are you? And do you have a badge number? He says, no, I don't have to give you my badge number. And I said, well, I don't have to continue talking to you. And he says, oh, really? He says, all right, you got to come down to Temple Street right now. And I said, I'm not coming down to Temple Street. He says, you're not? He says, okay. I said, what are you going to do? You're going to come to my house and arrest me? So he says, yeah, we're coming. We're coming to your house. So I walk in Tom's home and he hears me like screaming. And what did he think? Oh, he thought I was on the phone with my nieces because sometimes they don't get along. So he thought that I was having a moment with my nieces. And I said to him, talk to this guy. He's like trying to tell me that he's the sheriff. And so Tom, starts giving him a what for. And the guy and Tom asks him a question. And then the guy says, I don't have to fucking tell you that. And I said, oh, very sheriff-like of you. And then we just hung up.
Okay. Don't answer stuff that has no caller ID.
I know.
But you did.
I know. I don't know why I did it. You know why? I have one friend who calls me and she's it always says no caller ID when she
Yeah.
calls.
Okay.
So I thought maybe it's her, but I should have just waited. And if it was her, she would have left a message.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Right.
You know what? You know what I did? I was a senior in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, any of that stuff, don't call Citibank and ask about the fake stuff. That's why they thought it was elder abuse. They thought somebody out there is trying to get to you, and they sent help. Oh my God. Well, and next time, just report as junk is the easiest thing to do.
Yeah. Right.
Report as junk. So, well, I'm glad you survived it. By the way, you were the elder. That was the problem. You were the elder. It's got to be a weird feeling.
They're coming for me.
All right. So Golden Globe nominations SAG Award nominations have come out. Obviously, the Golden Globes are over. And this is, Sue, probably the most important precursor award there is, because actors are the largest voting bloc in the Academy. So you can kind of take these to the bank a little. There could be a surprise here or there, but a lot of these nominees you can kind of take to the bank, because actors definitely love these performances in these movies.
So I looked up how many actors who are nominated for SAG Awards go on to win the Oscar.
Yes.
And they said in the last 3 years, all but one did not win, and that was Lily Gladstone didn't win.
Oh, for Killers of the Flower Moon, yeah.
Emma Stone won, yeah.
Yeah. So I think, again, a lot of these seem like we're setting up the Academy Award nominations, and I'm not necessarily going to be surprised if it goes exactly like this. Start with Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Leading Role. I think these are the 5 nominees. Adrien Brody for The Brutalist, Timothée Chalamet for Complete Unknown, which we're going to talk about later in the show, Daniel Craig for Queer, which I've not had a chance to see yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing, Colman Domingo for Sing Sing, and Ralph Fiennes for Conclave. I think those are probably the 5. There were no big snubs in that category. Now, I don't know, are you in this as Screen Actors? You're in the Writers Guild. Are you in the Screen Actors Guild?
Screen Actors as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So tip your hand a little bit. Who are you leaning toward voting for here?
I haven't seen The Brutalist, but I'm going to vote for Adrien Brody just because I just heard he was phenomenal.
Sight unseen, Adrien Brody. I get the screener on Wednesday. I'm very excited. I'm going to watch it in like a little mini series situation.
Oh, well, hopefully I should be getting it too then.
Yeah, screeners come out on Wednesday of next week.
Okay. So I did see Daniel Craig.
Yes.
And he was great, but it was very, very odd for me. And I don't think we even
no, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. So, I mean, here's an actor that's really, really kind of taking a 180 in the kind of roles that he normally
from
plays.
James Bond to this, yeah.
Well, that was my problem with it, because, he plays this gay character, and it was really difficult for me to watch James Bond blow a guy. It was the most, it was just so bizarre. And I know it sounds crazy, but I couldn't get that out of my head.
Yeah, right. It's very fun. Well, it's funny. He came out and said that while he was James Bond, he wouldn't have made a movie like this. He had to wait until his run was over as Bond to be able to do stuff that he was really passionate about. But yeah, I'll be interested to see exactly how that goes down, so to speak, when I see it.
So who are you going to vote for?
I am all about Timothée Chalamet this year. I thought he was so, and we'll talk about it. I thought he was so friggin' good. That's a review coming up, so we'll hold it for then. Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a Leading Role. I saw Pamela Anderson in The Last Showgirl yesterday. Oh, she's so good. I was so surprised, and she is so good. Cynthia Erivo for Wicked, Carla Sofia Gascon for Emilia Pérez, Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance. Again, there are some big snubs here. Angelina Jolie.
Mm-hmm.
let's see, Kate Winslet had a movie. There were multiple
Nicole
performances that were very
Kidman.
Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl. Yeah. I mean, this is a really tight category, and this is one where I don't think the players are necessarily set. Although I tell you, I watched part of Maria. I did not go very deep into Maria, about Maria Callas. I didn't love the movie, so maybe that's not appealing to the Academy. I did like Baby Girl. We'll talk about that on an upcoming show. I thought she was really, really great. But Sue, if you have a vote, who would you be leaning toward right now?
Um, I think it's gonna be between, and this is gonna be a really, really out there if Pamela Anderson wins, but
Yep.
I hope it really is between Pamela Anderson and Demi Moore. I would vote for Demi Moore. I want either of them to win just based on the fact that they're actresses that haven't gotten this kind of attention,
Yep.
and they're putting out performances. I haven't seen Last Showgirl. I'm gonna see it this weekend,
Yeah.
but everything I hear about this, I hear it's just she's insanely good.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I really love Mikey Madison in
mhm,
Nora, and there was a point where I thought she was going to win everything. Now I have a hunch that Demi Moore is probably going to win here because it's a great narrative. Like you're saying, it's a great story. 40 years, never won anything until the Golden Globe. And now here she's got a shot at a SAG award and an Academy Award. I think she is probably, it's her year. Pamela Anderson is who I'm going to vote for.
mhm,
I just thought as this sort of broken down showgirl, she was incredible.
mm,
But I think probably this is Demi Moore's category because it's such a good story. She's worked with so many people,
mhm,
and it would be really nice. And her speech was the highlight of the Golden Globes.
mhm,
And a lot of
mhm,
times, your speech at the Golden Globes is like an audition for the Oscar. And I think she nailed that audition.
mhm.
All right, so this is interesting. Outstanding performance by a male actor in a supporting role. Jonathan Bailey for Wicked, Yura Borisov for Anora, Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain, Edward Norton as Pete Seeger in A Complete Unknown, and Jeremy Strong, who played Roy Cohn in The Apprentice. The big surprise was Jonathan Bailey in Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2 out, which is a big surprise.
Right, and Guy Pearce, who was nominated for a Golden Globe, he was
Right.
snubbed too.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, I don't get the Denzel thing. I mean, he was so good in
He was
this,
the highlight of the
and
movie. Yeah.
I mean, he's this veteran actor who's, I would think is very, very respected in this industry.
Of course.
So I just don't get it. Yeah, this is a tough category. I would love for Yura Borisov to win.
Yes. Yes.
He was so great.
Yep.
And also, I always root for the underdog. I know Edward Norton, he was great too. I didn't see The Apprentice. Um,
I did.
you know,
And
and
I thought Jeremy Strong was great.
oh, okay, okay, yeah.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
he
he's
spent 6 months in character.
yeah. I mean, he's very, very. Is he ever not great? I mean, he's just such
Yeah,
an
he's
amazing
always
actor.
good.
Kieran Culkin, I mean, if it leans towards what they say about, you know, winning the SAG award,
Yep.
winning an Oscar, I think in some ways, he's going to be a favorite for a lot of people. But I'm going to vote for Yuri Borisov. This is not even like who's going to win. This is just who I
Just
would
who you
love,
will vote for. Right.
who I will
Right.
vote for.
I love Yuri Borisov. And the thing I love, you know what? Who's got the most lines? Who's got the most dialogue? He had virtually the entire performance was just what was on his face. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And they get to the final scene of that movie, and you're like, you just sort of melt because it's such an emotional moment between Mikey Madison and Yura Borisov. I am going to vote for Edward Norton. Boy, that's a lot of complete unknown for me. I loved Edward Norton in this. Plus, I mean, it's a performance with such heart.
Hmm.
Um, and I just bought him completely in that role. So yeah, I will vote for Edward Norton, but I have a feeling that Kieran Culkin is probably the favorite here.
Yeah, I think so too.
Outstanding performance by a female actor in a supporting role. Monica Barbaro from A Complete Unknown. She plays Joan Baez. I was glad she got recognized because she
Mm-hmm.
deserves it. Jamie Lee Curtis, who was terrific in The Last Showgirl. Danielle Deadwyler, The Piano Lesson. She snuck in there. A lot of people didn't think she had a shot. That's the play that is written by August Wilson, and the film version was directed by Malcolm Washington, who's Denzel's son. Ariana Grande, who was born to play Galinda in Wicked, and Zoe Saldana for Emilia Pérez. Tight category. I was glad Monica Barbaro snuck in there because she really was one of the highlights of Complete Unknown.
Yeah, this is another tough one because I also haven't seen, I didn't see Last Showgirl. I didn't see The Piano Lesson. I
Right.
loved Danielle Deadwyler. She is such an incredible actress. So I mean, right now, I would vote for Zoe Saldana.
I am also with Zoe Saldana, but it would not surprise me to see Ariana Grande win. It would not surprise me to see her win because she's so great in Wicked, and it's also a very large supporting role. Like, she is on screen a lot for a supporting role category. So again, being on screen a lot does help. But I will vote for Zoe Saldana there. I thought she was just amazing in Emilia Pérez. And then this is a really telling category, Best Ensemble. You know, generally speaking, all the movies that get nominated for Best Ensemble go on to get Oscar nominations. And on top of that, with this one, you also have a surprising snub for The Brutalist. I thought The Brutalist would be in here. If The Brutalist is going to win Best Picture, it doesn't have necessarily the support of the actors branch of the Academy. So I think it kind of turns the Best Picture race upside down a little bit.
I don't have the ensemble list here.
Oh,
So
I'll
read them
tell
to
you.
me.
I will tell you. It is A Complete Unknown, Honora, Conclave, Emilia Pérez, and Wicked. So no Brutalist.
Wow. I'm going to go with Conclave because I loved that movie.
Did you love it?
So I loved it. I think it's going to win Best Screenplay, but that's a whole nother category. I did. I thought it would.
I
mean,
mean,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it's great. I think it's a good, solid movie. It's not my favorite movie of the year. But it's a good, solid movie. I think, boy, I'll tell you, I think it's really tough. I think it's probably A Complete Unknown is going to win.
Wow. And is Emilia Pérez on there?
Yeah, Emilia Pérez is on there.
Yeah, I mean, that
I would
movie,
vote for Emilia Pérez.
yeah, I'm going to vote for Emilia Pérez. That's what I'm going to vote for.
But when you see Monica Barbaro, Timothée Chalamet getting nominated along with Edward Norton, you're like, well, the Academy really loves this movie. So maybe its ensemble is its category when you see that many nominations. So I thought the big things there, snub for Nicole Kidman, snub for Angelina Jolie, snub for Denzel Washington. I would say surprisingly soft performance for The Brutalist with no Guy Pearce and no Felicity Jones.
Right.
So they got overlooked twice. And I think Best Actress is going to be really interesting this year between Pamela Anderson and Demi Moore. I think it will come down to those two.
So you said Guy Pearce and Felicity
Jones got snubbed in the SAG Awards.
Oh, just in the SAG Awards. Okay, because
Yeah, in
they
the SAG
got
Awards.
golden. Yeah, because they got Golden Globe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. God, every year it is so difficult to pick that one winner because for different reasons. It's like sometimes I look at a film like Emilia Pérez and I say, "Oh my God, how ambitious!" I mean, it was so different than anything I've ever seen. And then you think of the dual roles that the lead act Carla Sofia Gascon, how she played dual roles,
Yeah.
and how amazing that was. and I mean, and the singing and the dancing and
Yeah,
just,
yeah. So
I
out of the
mean,
box and surprising, and
so,
I
I mean, completely out there, never seen anything like it. So I look at movies like that and I say, I mean, there's something to be said for not only just being a great movie. I mean, the story was incredible, the acting was incredible, and then you get that added wow factor of I've never seen anything like this before,
yeah, yeah,
you know? So,
yeah. My vote will be the Emilia Perez is my favorite movie of the year. I just think it's work of a genius, and like nothing I've ever seen, and it will get my vote. And I think the Oscar race for Best Picture is now down to Wicked, which I still think has a chance,
mhm.
Emilia Perez, and Conclave, and A Complete Unknown. I think A Complete Unknown now has a shot at winning Best Picture because the
Mhm,
performances are universally beloved. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. That's the
mhm.
segue I was looking for. That's what happens when you've been doing this for 50 years, Sue. You know how to do a segue. And
Yep,
by the way,
and, it's
highly
just like stand-up.
unprofessional, highly unprofessional to actually point it out when it happens. But I did.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
There's your segue.
right. You shoulda just said, "There's your segue."
There's your segue. So, A Complete Unknown. Directed by James Mangold, written by James Mangold, who also did Walk the Line, so has a lot of experience in this particular genre, musical biopic. We mentioned Timothée Chalamet, Edward Norton is great as Pete Seeger, Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez. What was your feeling on this sort of musical docu drama of Bob Dylan and his life?
There's a lot of things that, were very close to home for me, and we've talked about this. My oldest brother was a Bob Dylan fanatic, and he's 11 years older than me, so I was a kid when Bob Dylan started playing in my house, and
Mm,
Bob Dylan played in my house every day. So I've been in love with him ever since I've been in elementary school,
wow.
and, and also I spent so much of my comedy career in Greenwich Village,
Right.
performing at the Comedy Cellar. So it was very cozy for me. It was nostalgic for me. I loved going back there because I wasn't there in the 60s.
Right.
So, and Cafe Wa, which was, the big club at the time, it's just doors down from the Comedy Cellar. And now the Comedy Cellar, there's comedy at Cafe Wa now. So, so for that, the art direction was amazing. Um, and just the music. I just loved the music so much because to me, there is no musical artist that wrote lyrics like Bob Dylan. And I started to kind of go through, like some of the lyrics and um the times they are a changing. When you listen to like come mothers and fathers throughout the land and don't criticize what you don't understand.
Mm,
I mean, I think of every teenager during that time. He spoke to this generation of teenagers who were going through exactly that.
yeah.
And it's just look, it's evergreen. It's what, kids say to their parents, "God, you just don't understand." I think it was more divided back then because I think that a parent, like if I were a parent nowadays, because of how I grew up, because I took drugs, because I snuck out of the house, I did things that my parents didn't do with their parents, you
Right.
know? So if I could relate to I believe that I would be able to relate to my kid on a level that my parents could never relate to with me.
Yes.
And it's so that to me, was so potent in the film. And, I just loved it, and I loved the performances, and I love that the lead actors, um, you know, played guitar and sang and
Yep.
Monica Barbado, she
Barbara.
Barbaro, she actually senior moment,
Yep.
um, she, uh, I think it was she for like a year, she learned how to play guitar, and Joan Baez's style was so complex. Her finger picking was so complex. So it wasn't just learning how to just play guitar with chords and strumming. I mean, it was a particular style that was really
Yeah.
synonymous to the way she played guitar. And when I found out that he was going to be Bob Dylan, I thought, oh, I kind of didn't see it.
Yeah.
But when I saw him in the film, his hair, the sunglasses, his posture, and then just his performance, he nailed it.
Yeah. I think he's a really special actor to be able to pull that movie off. I have not been a Bob Dylan fan in my life. I'm in that next generation where it's like Bob Dylan, we sort of made fun of how he sang and, that whole thing. So I see the movie, I'm like, wow, I love this music. Wow, I didn't know this was who Bob Dylan is. And, my music taste, I like sort of folk rock kind of / country kind of sound. So Chris Stapleton and Mumford and Sons, and I like instruments in my music as opposed to synthesizers and stuff like that. And I'm like, Bob Dylan is on the money for me. I did a whole workout today at the gym where I listened to nothing but Bob Dylan. I fell in love with the music, and so I thank James Mangold and Timothée Chalamet and all of those artists for making that possible, because I never would have even given it a listen. I think Chalamet is, not only is he the guy who right now in the world can open a movie. Like this year he had Dune 2, he had Wonka, and he had Complete Unknown. Are you kidding me? He had a gigantic blockbuster sequel. He had an original movie like Wonka with singing, by the way. And he had this, which is going to be an Academy Award nominated performance. I just think that's an incredible year. I also loved Edward Norton, who for me was sort of the emotional grounding, the beating heart of the movie in a lot of ways. For me was Edward Norton, a guy who's been in the business for a very long time. I don't think has been nominated for an Oscar since American History X. He's been nominated. I'm just working off the top of my head. He got nominated twice, I think. And the last time was for American History X. Primal
Fear, was that?
Primal Fear, yeah.
He was great
with the big
in that.
twist at the end. Oh, that's a good twist. And yeah, I love the music. I thought beautifully directed. It reminded me that I'd forgotten about this. When I was up at Esalen Institute at Big Sur, probably 20 years ago, I walk into the kitchen area. By the way, have you ever been to Esalen?
I have not.
So cool. They grow their own food, and there's lots of yoga, and there's this idea that it's a spiritual vortex, and like really cool stuff. The views are amazing. Walk into the kitchen one night. There is a lady playing the guitar. I'm like, huh. All right. And there's a big crowd gathered around. And I'm like, huh. And I walk over. Joan Baez was singing for a few people in the kitchen, in the dining area at Esalen Institute. And I sat and listened to her and was just amazed. Amazed.
Wow.
So I just thought this whole thing, from the time he got off the bus in Jersey to the time he was a superstar at the Newport Festival, I just thought an amazing movie from beginning to end. Absolutely loved it. Didn't know if I was going to, but it's one of my favorite movies of the year, hands down. So congrats to all of them. And as I said, I'm sure Adrian Brody is spectacular. And I will see that movie, but I seriously doubt anything is going to dislodge Timothée Chalamet from my SAG Awards ballot. I love the guy in that movie.
And you love him even more. I don't know if you saw this interview that he did on Graham Norton.
Oh, no, I didn't.
It was great. So Graham Norton asks him if the correct pronunciation of his name was Timothy. And he says, it's whatever you like.
Oh, is that right? Whatever you like.
Right. So then Norton says, well, I thought it was supposed to be Timothée because of the double E. And Timothy says, it's supposed to, but you can say Doug, you can say Alex, you can say Rick, whatever works.
That
And
is so
it was
funny.
just so, oh, he was just so real,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just so show business, just down to earth, like, who cares? You
yeah.
know,
He
call me
he's
what
one
you
of
want.
those he's one of those guys too that in 20 years we're going to be saying, remember when he played Bob Dylan in A Complete Unknown? I mean, he's one of those guys who I think generationally is going to be a really big time movie star. All
Mhm.
right, there you have it. A little Complete Unknown, which both of us, big thumbs up, love the movie. Our guest today is an internationally renowned actor. His breakout role was in Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List. Since then, he has starred in movies like The Terminal, 7 Days in Entebbe, and Robert De Niro's The Good Shepherd. His TV work includes 24, Monk, Homeland, and Law and Order, among many, many others. His latest film is the brilliant Best Picture contender, Emilia Pérez. Mark Ivanir joins us. Mark, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Steve. Sue, thank you.
So I want to ask about Emilia Pérez. I'm wondering when you got this script. I mean, it's just another one of those musicals about a drug kingpin who transitions to being a woman. It's unlike anything that I've ever seen.
Just one
What did you think when you read the script for the first time?
I mean, first thing that happened to me when they offered me the part was my agent sent me an email saying they're interested for you to be in this movie with that 𝐀 𝐂𝐿 is directing. And for me, that was even before I read it, it was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm gonna, if you ask me to be an extra on that, though, I'll strongly think about it because he is one of my favorite directors of all times. He's really something special. So that was the first thing. And then I read uh, you know, the short plot line, and it was, "Whoa, that's gonna be interesting." I'm not sure where it's gonna go, but it's not, the usual bad guy thing that I'm a lot of the times being offered. It's gonna go somewhere special, and it did. It just like it went beyond my expectations, I have to say, but I did expect it to go far because it was so outrageous, so audacious. But knowing him and his work, I thought, okay, that it might go somewhere very special, which gladly it did.
It's one of those types of ventures that to me just reeks like, how is this going to work? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm going to give you a very strange example. Like, well, I don't know do you remember Cop Rock that Stephen
Oh,
Bochco
yeah.
did years
Yeah,
ago?
yeah, sure.
Okay, so this was a police show, and it had music in it, and it was awful. I mean, that was one of the shows that didn't work with music. But
Yeah.
my analogy to this is that I'm Jewish. Growing up, I had a lot of friends who were Gentile, and I'd go to their house,
Mhm.
and they would eat a hamburger and then down it with a glass of milk. And to me, it was the most nauseating thing in the world. It was like, how do you do that? That doesn't work. You don't eat milk and dairy. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I saw this film, and then how I found out about the film, a friend of mine had posted on Facebook. He just wrote, Emilia Pérez, don't read about it. Don't watch a trailer. Just go see it. And it was really, like Steve said, it was unlike anything that I've ever seen. From the beginning, over the credits, you hear Spanish, and it's like, what
When I
is
told
it?
when I told it to my family, it was like everyone was like, "What? What are you talking about?" It's like a drug pin, the over masculine, crazy guy wants to be a woman. Was like, what? And that's just his genius idea of avoid danger. And it was the same thing when I was telling my friends about it. That was like half jokingly, and I honestly didn't expect it to go as far. But again, uh, Jacques is an amazing director who always, any of his movies, just like you don't know what to expect. It always goes to different places, always and there's a lot of humor always. So I was kind of hoping it's gonna go in a good direction, and it did. I'm happy. I'm happy to see where it's at now, and hopefully it's gonna go even better.
So the movie's mostly in Spanish, but you mentioned your director French. It's
Yeah.
a real international production. How was communication handled on the set? I mean, do you speak Spanish? Does your director speak Spanish? How does all that work?
Well, my part of the movie, it doesn't involve Spanish, so it was mainly English. Now the other actors, all of them are actually American actors. Here's Zoe Saldana, Selena Gomez. So English was between us. We were speaking English. Jacques, yeah, he does speak English, but he prefers to do French. But I speak also French. So for me, we were kind of switching in between French and English. And the Spanish came to my, you know, I just saw it when I saw the movie. It wasn't in my world. It was mainly the English with some Israeli accent, Spanish accent, and all of that.
So it's based on a telenovela novel, I believe, right? Is that
It's based on a novel, but I think Jacques wanted to. His initial idea was, I'm going to make an opera out of it, and which he basically did is some kind of a telenovela operatic film. It's like it's really difficult to explain what it is, to describe what this thing is. It's just as you've said, there's nothing you can't read about it. Just you need to watch it, because otherwise there's no explanations. When you read the critique or reviews, it hardly explains what it is. It's an experience.
so? I read that he wanted to shoot it on a soundstage in France because he wanted it to be more realistic to a telenovela. As an actor, are there adjustments you have to make when you're shooting on a soundstage?
Well, for me, and again, it's to his credit. When they asked me about the part, they said, "Okay, so they are interested in you for this part. The only thing they want to do is hear you sing." And I was like, yeah, I'm many things, not a singer." So I kind of read. They send me an example and someone singing it, like actually singing it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be singing this thing. It's not gonna happen. Because I'm not a really good singer. But I looked at it and it's like, but I can act it. I can just you know speak it with the music, which I called my friend who's a producer. He performs with Alan Parsons, so I went to his studio and we recorded the whole thing and sent it to production. And then when I met Jacques the first time, and they like said, yeah, 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 sure. Then when I came to Paris and we were at the studio, Jacques said, I that's what I love, because I didn't want to hire Frank Sinatra. I wanted someone who speaks it, who can infuse some humor into it, and gravitas of the thing, but the music is not the thing. And now with being at a studio, for me, it doesn't really. I mean, mm, part of my scenes are at the hospital, and that it doesn't really matter when you are where you are with that. The other part is where I meet him when I fly to Mexico and meet him. It was in Chantilly, which is a few hours away from Paris, and they shot it in a mine, like old coal mine or something like this. So that it didn't have any. It wasn't French. It wasn't. It was just in the nature, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night. So it just felt, but again, the feeling was from the people that were there, from Jacques, from Zoe. There was some sort of a family environment that was great in this production.
So you mentioned you have a musical number in Emilia Pérez,
Yeah.
and it's you and Zoe Saldana
Yeah.
singing about Manitas, and
Yeah.
the lyrics have got themes like transformation and acceptance and self-discovery. What does that song mean for you as the actor and for your character?
First of all, I'm on Spotify. But someone said it to me like, Mark, you're on Spotify. I was like, what? Okay. Look, it was. I think what I liked about this part to begin with, when I read it, is that it in the spectrum of the script, where there's a lot of toxic masculinity versus female, empowerment and becoming someone else and everything. This character had some, I don't know, sensitivity that is not straight masculine or feminine. There was something human about him. The need to actually, if he does that procedure, it has to make the person you perform it over, what you do it with. It was really difficult, important for him to understand that that's where he's going, that Manitas needs it, that he asks him, was from childhood that you wanted to do that you wanted to be that. So I liked him there was something true about him, something sincere and human, which I liked.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of who she became as a woman. I mean, such a departure from who she was as a man. I mean,
Yeah.
she really was philanthropic and
Yeah.
just and kind of a softie and really wanted to help people.
Exactly. And it's that fusion of humor into anything that makes it, I think, so great. So you have uh, uh, scenes that are insane and sometimes very violent and very non that normative or whatever. But when almost everywhere you have a bit of this humorous tone that gets into it, that brings it to a different place. It's kind of a mess that you wanna continue watching.
I want to ask about Carla Sofia Gascon, who is you have scenes with you have that big scene in
Yeah.
set in Mexico, and she's a trans woman making history as the first trans woman to be in the Best Actress category at the Golden Globes, and soon I'm pretty sure she will be an Oscar nominee too. Did she ever share with you anything about her personal challenges?
No, we didn't get into that. It was mainly, you know, on set we were talking about the part, about the scene. There was some improvisation that Jacques, and there was another beautiful thing about it, that he opens up and gives you the option to do that. So we didn't get into personal. Uh, it was funny when we went to the New York Film Festival where the movie premiered. He came with his daughter, and I came with my daughter. And suddenly, my 19-year-old sits with his 14-year-old, and they are chatting. And the Carla and I are talking about uh, stuff that happened in the past months. And it was a very funny kind of a situation, family situation. Again, there's something that I come back to family all the time, because there was a feeling that was created there, that there's some familial thing happening there.
You know, you have filmed a lot of your career. You've filmed in other countries, and I'm curious as to, is it change from country to country? I mean, I would think in France, you know, the the craft services are probably better than in most places.
Well, in France, when I first shot my first series in France, I was amazed. It was like breakfast. So we're having a breakfast, then we shooting the scene, and then lunch, and all of the tables have wine bottles on them.
Wow.
And that I haven't seen that anywhere else in the world. And yeah, people are like, yeah, do you want some wine? I was like, yeah, I have like 9 more hours of shooting in French. No, please. And they're drinking wine there. So you have, yeah, you do have some. But on the other hand, it's funny how wherever you go in the world, you do see it's the same people. They wear the same clothes. They speak in the same way. They smoke their cigarettes in the same way. So in this industry, apart from bottled wine or that, in general, it's very similar. The quality of the people, I don't know, the range is kind of the same.
I wonder in Jamaica if they have bowls of weed on the tables.
Oh, shoot something in Jamaica. Yes.
So let's go back a little bit. You were in Schindler's List, which is, arguably the finest film ever made about the Holocaust, Steven Spielberg. As you think about it now, what's it like to have been part of something that is such a work of genius and so powerful and amazing?
Yeah. Well, a couple of things about that. Well, one thing is that it is personal to me because my family went through the Holocaust. My dad, lost his hand in the war. Most of my grandparents, brothers, sisters were exterminated. And so it was very kind of personal to me. I remember one day I came to set. I wasn't shooting. I just came to visit on set. It was in Krakow and Poland. And the scene was this like center of a city, a roundabout. And they have in the scene, they have a lot of people marching around, and it's some kind of a selection scene. So they're selecting, you go there and you go there, and these are going to go on the train and to Auschwitz, etc., etc. And so I came to visit, and I'm standing there with the assistant director and watching it, and suddenly I literally see my mother and my sister there in my vision. I was like, oh, to the first AD is, please, I need to go. I need to go to the hotel. I can't stand it. So there was that. There was that part. There was the feeling on one hand that it's going to be that there's something very special about the movie. On the other hand, here's a funny story. With Emilia Pérez, I didn't expect it to be so successful because it's so weird and so kind of unexpected. I thought it's going to be a curiosity or something, but not the, success that it's seemingly getting. But I remember we were standing, it was the last scene, I think, of Schindler's List. It's where Liam Neeson is standing there and he's saying, I could have saved someone.
I could have saved more. Yeah.
I could have saved more. And there was some improv there, and Steve is standing by him, and a bunch of the other actors, my colleagues and I, are standing, and someone is saying, so what do you think about this movie? Do you think it's going to be successful? And literally 4 or 5 of the people's like, no, come on, no, look at this, and these, and it's like the guy that did Jurassic Park, come on, and it was most of the people that were standing there was a group of 8, 9 people who were like, nah, that's not gonna happen. You never know, I guess. And in hindsight, yes, it's really because of the personal, how it touches me personally, and because of the quality of the movie. I watched it still a couple of years ago with my daughters who were in their very early 20s, and it was moving to them as well. A movie that was made in 1993. We watched it in, I don't know, 30 years later, and it still works. It's still strong.
Yeah, I went to Prague many years ago and went to Terezin. It was
Yeah.
that was the
Amazing.
artists. It was the artists
Yeah,
concentration camp, I
yeah,
guess, which was a model for the Red Cross
correct.
to make it look like they were just the Jews were just hanging out knitting and they were like in camp. The kids were playing
Singing
kickball.
and
Right, right.
playing. Yeah.
But I remember, you say your feelings of being Jewish and having personal experiences. I didn't have any relatives that died in the Holocaust, but
Mhm.
just being Jewish and walking through the town where the concentration camp was, I'm looking around and thinking, it wasn't that long ago. I couldn't do this
Yeah,
as a Jew.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's
There's something very, I mean, so I also went to, outside of Munich, I went to one of the concentration camps, what's left, and you feel like you shouldn't speak.
yeah.
And I would imagine that's the way it felt on that set, where there was like a quietness or a hush on the set.
Sometimes, I mean, it was sometimes, realities meet in unexpected ways. So I remember I was playing a couple, a Jewish policeman in the movie that is in charge of the list. So there's this scene again where they bring a lot of people, uh, strip them naked, and they run around this big, uh, I don't know, yard or whatever. So I'm standing there and I see the people, and there's something about them that is. So I'm asking one of the ADs, and it's like, where these extras, where are they from? It's 93, the war in Serbia and Kosovo and Syria and Bosnia. They put a few hundred people who are refugees from the war that was in Serbia and brought them. And these are the people who
Mm.
are performing this scene, and you can see on their faces they went through a lot, and I think it adds to the experience of what you see, and even beyond what you see, what you feel about it.
So let's talk about you made a movie with Robert De Niro, The Good Shepherd, which is a terrific film, and that has led to sort of an ongoing relationship with him, and you're going to be doing a series with that. Talk about your relationship with Robert De Niro and what that's meant for your career.
Wow, Bob is amazing. Uh, the Good Shepherd was one of these miracles that happens. Yeah, I got the scene and I read it, and it was, wow, that's insane. I need so I worked on it for I don't know, about a week, and then read for it, and then I think they had problems with the movie. It took 5 more months, I think, until I had a callback, which was in Bob's trailer on the set in LA. He was shooting something else, and we had this conversation, and then, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then he was just incredible. And we were shooting our scene in The Good Shepherd, which is an interrogation scene. John Turturro is interrogating me, and Matt Damon is at the background, like watches it. And we are working on it, and then everyone feels something is not working. Something there is kind of, and no one knows what to do about it. And to myself, I kind of felt I know, but the way I work is I come with suggestions, and I always come with suggestions. And it took me just to learn that sometimes you need to stop. At the end of Schindler's List, Steven didn't want to talk to me because I kept pushing this stupid idea. It's fine. We made 2 other movies after that, but at that time it was. So my wife told me before I flew in to New York to shoot, she said, please, no suggestions, just shut up. Just do what it's De Niro, it's Turturro, it's Matt Damon, they know what they're doing. Just do what they wrote.
Be the good shepherd, be the good actor.
Be the good actor, exactly. And then we are in this thing, and I know what's wrong because I was in the intelligence forces, and I know that the interrogation that's happening, John is being, that's how it's written. He's being very, negative to me as an interrogator. And sometimes there's a bad cop and a good cop type of a thing that opens you up. Otherwise, you're very closed and there's nothing that is going to come out. So for 3 hours, I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything. By the end, I'm like, Bob, can I say something? So, I was in the intelligence forces, blah, 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 blah. And John comes as well. And he's like, oh, yeah, let's do it. And we start working on it. And it works. I don't know. It's like it. So next day, they've reshot the whole scene. They added a day. And I'm not gonna. It's a long story. By the end, there was a cut, and then they wanted to go to something else. And I had another thing. I kind of felt I can't go to the next scene without doing this little thing they cut. So I called the AD and I said, "Can I speak to Bob?" So yeah, he's editing. I will call him. And then on his way, I'm to myself again. My wife will kill me. She's gonna kill me. It's like the first time, and now I'm gonna do it. And then we stand there for like, they are changing the scene into the next scene. People are moving, lighting. It's a huge production, a lot of money and everything. And in the middle of that, Bob, me, and the DP, who is kind of on the side of the producers. And I say, look, guys, I need the other like bits that you cut, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to get to that scene that is very emotional. I mean, and for 25 minutes, the DP says like, no, he's like, he's trying. And then Bob is silent. He's like watching. Then after 25 minutes, I'm going to go with the actor. And they stop everything, bring back the cast, redo which was, to me, was just such a understanding of the process, which of course De Niro has. To let you do that, because he understands fully what it means.
Yeah.
To be an actor. So
what did your wife say when all this was over?
I didn't tell her. Don't say anything. It just shouldn't get into the podcast.
Did the DP give you the stink eye?
For a little bit, but not long. I mean, it was beautiful because they really liked what happened. And 2 shooting days, it became 5, and everyone got it. Like it was like a mini movie that happened that we all were very happy about. And then they went to Charlie Rose and were talking about this scene. It was amazing.
So I want to circle back to Emilia Pérez. What do you want audiences to take away from your performance and the movie overall? What is the message of Emilia Pérez?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, you need to try and be who you are and fight for that, and go, even if it's like the farthest thing ever from what you think you are and what you are born into. But it's more complicated than that, because I mean, there's that toxic masculinity that starts the movie that turns into, as you've said, he is forming, when he becomes a woman, he's forming this organization that helps families and all of that. But then at a certain stage, it kind of rises back a little bit. So the complexity of that, of what your identity is and how you handle it. There's a lot. It's a very, interestingly enough, it's a very feministic movie. Coming from 𝐀 𝐂𝐿𝐴, who is not a woman to begin with, as far as I know. And it's very, I think that there's a combination of deep thoughts about identity and what it is to be a man or a woman, mixed with there's something very operatic about it. It's an opera. It's um, something that it's really. I mean, I'm going back to what you said in the beginning. So you can't really explain it in words. It's something that is worth watching because it's so unexpected. But it's an opera about identity. Let's say that.
Yeah, yeah. So now 10 Golden Globe nominations, and I mean, huge success. And the Oscar nominations will be out, in January, and at some point, I think the movie's going to do really well. When you think about that, are you ready for like red carpets and all the stuff that goes along with a movie being nominated for Best Picture?
Uh, yeah, I'm not against it. What do you mean I can do it? It's at this stage, I've never been to the Oscars. With Schindler's List, it was very limited, and I was back then. I wasn't even in the States, so it could be curious. I've been to others, to Emmys and SAG Awards and all of that, so it will be interesting. But to me, I have to say the best thing would be again to have a get together with the team. It was a real pleasure being with them, and I will have lots of fun. I think to just see them again and catch up. Beyond that, it will be nice to do. Yeah.
Well, I got to tell you, everybody I recommend the movie to, this is my mom and her boyfriend, my brother and his boy. Everybody absolutely falls in love with this movie. I did too. It's my favorite movie of 2024. It is such a wonderful story and amazing and unlike anything I've ever seen. So congratulations on that. And thank you very much for coming on to the show. I hope you have all the fun on those red carpets.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. It was fun. It was a pleasant morning, start of my morning.
Oh,
Thank you.
And,
That's nice to hear.
And we'd love to have you on when your new show airs on Netflix. So what is it? It's Zero. What is it called again?
Zero Day. With Bob again.
With Bob. And it's a great cast.
It's an amazing cast, and it's really. I mean, I'm not. I don't think I can talk about the strip, but it's very timely and very interesting. So, yeah.
And you're united with the director from Homeland. Leslie Linka Glatter.
Yeah. It was. There's a lot of good stuff happening there on many levels. I really enjoyed it.
Well, cool. Excited to see the show, and we'll definitely have you back. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
There you have it. Mark Ivanir joining us, and just a very cool guy. And Emilia Pérez, this obviously was a conversation containing spoilers, but when people see it, they are just blown away.
Yeah. You asked him what he thought the movie represented, and something that I think the movie represented was like, was kind of like transformation and rebirth, because it was like a complete 180 from where it started and what happened with everybody, really.
Although what's interesting is because, and again, spoilers included here, because she becomes, it's like you can't really change your nature, right? She's got the same attitudes and becomes violent again at the end, because in a way you are who you are regardless of your gender, right?
Right. She wasn't getting what she wanted, and she was going to fight for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All right, wonderful. It is award season, so lots of talk about the awards coming up and some of the actors and creators who are involved in the biggest movies of the year. And at some point, Sue, we're going to give out our best 10 movies of the year.
Okay.
Soon. We'll do it. I got to catch up on a few, but definitely soon. Sue, it's great seeing you. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next time on the Culture Pop Podcast.